Well, what is going to happen to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Reports now that the Broncos are working on a, quote, impressive deal to land Aaron Rodgers, who's disgruntled and says he wants out of Green Bay. Goes back to last year when they took Jordan Love in the draft, or Jonathan Jones, saying the Broncos have indeed put together an impressive deal for Aaron Rodgers. What that impressive deal would be, not sure. Guessing it would include the number 9 overall pick tonight, if this thing is done before the draft gets going. We are seconds away, and we're watching it on NFL Network. We've got a lot to get to because there are so many moving pieces right now, and an Aaron Rodgers deal would trump anything that happens in the draft tonight. I'm Chris Hassell. I'm joined by Jamie Eisenberg and Pete Prisco. Pete, I mean, things are changing by the second here. What do you make of the Broncos now making a move for Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I've heard differing reports on that. I'm not so sure that there actually are or have made a move to go get him. Look, there's going to be a lot of teams interested in him, but you're in the middle of your draft room right now. I can't imagine. And I saw Mike Klis, who's been covering the Broncos for years, said that there's no truth to it. I checked on somebody, and I've heard there's no truth to it as well. So maybe it's just stuff that's being thrown out there, and agents are jumping on it, and other teams are jumping on it, and that's why you're hearing it.
I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you saw the way Peyton Manning transitioned to Denver and the success he had winning a Super Bowl and having all the accolades after people wrote him off. Obviously, Rodgers in a much different spot coming off an MVP season, but you want to go to a situation like that. And again, you look at it. Look at those weapons he would be stepping into. Cortland Sutton coming off an ACL, but should be one of the better playmakers at the wide receiver spot. Jerry Jeudy, who we were a year ago talking about maybe as the first wide receiver off the board. Tim Patrick played really well. KJ Hamler, obviously a guy you know very well, Chris. Noah Fant, one of the young tight ends that are up and coming. So it'd be a good destination for him to step into, and a defense that can support him, an offensive line that played really well last year. So the fit makes a lot of sense. Forget about, people are going to say, well, they just traded for Teddy Bridgewater. It doesn't matter at all. If you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers, you go and you make that trade. But if you're Green Bay, why would you give up on Aaron Rodgers right now, knowing that you have a chance to go contend for something?
What would the asking price be, in your opinion, Pete? I mean, what would it cost for the Packers to give up Aaron Rodgers?
Nothing. I'm not doing it.
You're not going to do it.
I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, if they get overwhelmed with something.
What would be overwhelming?
If it's 4 first-round picks, if it's 5 first-round picks.
Well, now you're getting crazy into crazy land.
It's going to be crazy, though, isn't it? I mean, that's what
I'm the mayor of fantasy land. I'm allowed to be crazy.
Well, you are. That's right. I forgot about that. No, I mean, look, if you're the Packers, right now they're Super Bowl favorite or a contender along with the Bucs in the NFC, right?
I think they have the third best odds to win the Super Bowl behind the Bucs.
If Rodgers isn't there, where do they go? With all those draft picks that you get, where do they go?
It's rebuild, isn't it?
Yeah. So why would you do that? I'm not doing that. And I don't think they will either. If you're the Broncos, 3 first-round picks, and if you could get him for 3 first-round picks, absolutely. That would make the Broncos right there with the Chiefs in the division. The Broncos would have a better defense. The quarterbacks would be similar.
They'd be a favorite.
The Broncos would be the favorite. Yeah.
Over the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it team-wise, yes.
Wow. Okay, the Chiefs are the favorites to win the Super Bowl despite losing. The Bucs have the second best odds, and then the Packers are near behind them. We want to go to the quarterback room now. Brady Quinn and Danny Cannell. You heard what Pete and Jamie had to say. Brady, what do you make of this potential trade in the works between the Broncos and Packers?
Yeah, I'm hearing something a little different from Denver. There is a proposal for 3 first-round picks. We'll see what comes from that. As Pete talked about, I don't know that Green Bay wants to trade him. I think the whole thing came about, Danny, because he's upset with, one, what happened a year ago, but 2, where his contract's at. I think he's upset with his contract at this point in time because, A, he was the MVP of the league last year. He wants to be compensated like the best player in the league. And on top of that, I think he realizes his days are numbered in Green Bay. So whatever contract he wants to strike, he wants to strike it with the team that he's built up the most equity with before they trade him off to somewhere else. So why not do it with the Green Bay Packers? However, I do know that Denver is trying to work and make something happen. I don't know if 3 first-round picks is enough, but at the end of the day, it would put Denver as a contender. And I would challenge what Pete said. The Packers are still aligned to be able to make a run in the NFC North. They're just betting on Jordan Love's the guy, and that's the guy they traded up to get the back end of the first round. And after a year of seasoning, they're hoping he can do what Patrick Mahomes did for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I know this was an MVP season. It was awesome for Aaron Rodgers. But a year ago, the Packers organization was looking for the future. Right. So that's obviously in the back of their minds. And now if there's an opportunity to have an exit strategy where you're actually getting a boatload in return, then I think it does make some sense. Now, this year probably changes their thinking somewhat. Man, look how close we were to winning. Maybe we can get back there. Jamie brought up something interesting with Aaron Rodgers having seen what Peyton Manning going to Denver. But also, I think there's got to be a part of Aaron Rodgers who saw Tom Brady, one organization, entire career, go to a new place.
First year.
And first year, win a Super Bowl, have say in personnel. He got to bring Gronk. He got to sign AB, have input on play calling, have a lot of input, have this new appreciation for him, and win a Super Bowl. Like, that to me says something as well that makes it really attractive. And I think this is the new NFL where players – they're looking around at other sports. They've seen baseball players. They've seen NBA players force their way out of situations. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers is trying to do. And Denver might go ahead and say, we're going to, whatever it takes. And that's a tough place to negotiate from. But if they want to get it done, they can probably get it done.
Well, and think about this. When John Fox was there, when Peyton Manning came over, they basically said, we will run your offense. Mm-hmm. We're not going to make you learn our offense. Like, that was more of the sticking point that I thought was interesting with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady was they learned Bruce Arians' offense. At least that was the beginning until they kind of adapted to what Tom does well more towards the playoffs. With Aaron Rodgers now and Vic Fangio and then Pat Shurmur, it's a West Coast system. The terminology is going to be similar. He's going to walk in right away, have a bunch of weapons to throw to, have a running game, too, that I think he can rely on a little bit, and a defense that's not going to force him to have to win games in a shootout. Granted, a really tough division because of the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's something to think about. I really do think it's something to think about. I don't know if it happens. It's the NFL. We see these scenarios all the time, and usually they never come to fruition. But it is fun to think about what could the Denver Broncos be with a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm. Brady Quinn saying that it might be 3 first-round picks that the Broncos are offering. Look, I want to just take a second to step back here. We're not saying, and Jonathan Jones, who's reporting this, isn't saying the deal is imminent and nothing like that. He's saying that the Broncos are working on this trade proposal for maybe 3 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. As Pete has said, that doesn't mean Green Bay is interested at all.
No, and from Green Bay, I hear that they're not interested in trading him. So we'll see. And I wouldn't trade him either. I'd make him sit there, and if he doesn't want to play for me, he's not going to play.
There's a price, though, right? Well, I mean, there's got to be a price.
Well, you're going to take you just gave him $6.5 million roster bonus. You're going to take a $31 million cap hit if you trade him, or $38 million if you trade him before June 1st. So they have $3 million in cap room. It doesn't work right now.
I think Brady wants to jump in.
Well, no, my only question is this, and I posed this way back when the whole thing came about, where he was disgruntled and he won a new contract after the season is, when else is his leverage going to be higher? Or when else is he going to be able to garnish the type of value that he got? He was the MVP of the league. They already have their future quarterback there and waiting. I look at it and kind of say, okay, Pete wants to say, oh, well, they don't want to trade him. Well, they're going to a year from now. So, but what happens if he gets hurt? What happens if he doesn't have as good of a season? He's a year older. His trade value is not going to be as much a year from now than what it is right now. So I think if the writing's on the wall and he's saying, I'm not going to show up, or things have gotten contentious, I don't want to be here anymore. You might as well find the best possible deal now, cut ties, move forward, move on with Jordan Love, and start over. That was your plan anyway a year from now. You're just expediting this whole thing a year sooner than you were planning on.
He signed. He's 1 year into a contract extension. 1 year. That's it. 1 year. He's got 3 years left on that deal. He signed that deal, right? Okay, he's outplayed the deal. Give him more money. And I think the Packers are willing to give him more money. They went out there and met with him to try and give him a new deal. I don't think this is about money. I think he wants to be in California or on the West Coast. He wants to be near Hollywood. He wants to be near the Jeopardy set. He's engaged. His wife, or his fiance, I think he's married now. His wife or fiance is in the Hollywood business. She was in that Divergent series. He wants to be in Hollywood. Let's put it out there.
Is it his wife or his?
I don't know if he got married yet. Do we have? You know how guys,
Chris,
they sneak around.
Can we just clear it up? He's not going to be the next Jeopardy host. He wasn't that great. Okay,
I
he was
tend
good.
to agree
he was
with
different,
you.
but he's
I
not going to be.
agree with you.
Like, all these things are true, and I agree with you. Yes, I think he's looking at life outside of football. I think his perspective has changed.
Right.
I think he has settled down with somebody who probably would ideally like to be closer to the West Coast. But ultimately, I think it goes back to he doesn't think the organization has done a great job building around him. And he's looking around at other quarterbacks who are, and by the way, this has been a incredible, season of quarterback movement. He's saying, hey, I want to get in. I want to go somewhere else where I can be more appreciated, where they'll build around me, give me more say, and it makes sense.
100% it makes sense. And I also think you don't take as much flack when you're doing it when everyone else is doing it or other teams are doing it, right? It kind of falls in line, and not that he gets, lost in the mix of it. It's big news. But still, there's a lot of movement going on right now. I'm just more concerned. Was it the Divergent series? Did Pete see all of the Divergent series?
No, he read the books.
Did.
He read the books.
I did. No, I saw them, and they weren't very good, but I did see them.
Aaron Rodgers,
Taste
maybe
in
the best
movies.
quarterback in the
Go
game,
out there.
What?
might be traded, and we're out here talking about whether or not he's married or if he's
Well,
engaged.
that
and it's a
impacts
Jeopardy show.
part of the reason
I
why
know
he
it does.
wasn't
It's crazy.
traded.
I know it's just crazy the way that
But-
it's
well,
worked out.
I saw ESPN tweeted something today. No Packers quarterback has played 17 years in Green Bay.
Right.
Bart Starr, 16 years. Brett Favre, 16 years. This is 16 years for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I mean, based on what Brady said, Jordan Love's going to play 20 years because he says they're going to be a contender with Jordan Love next year.
No, hold on now. Different than Pete
2-9?
Prisco. This is shocking.
2-9?
Different than Pete Prisco. I did not anoint Jordan Love as a two-time Super Bowl winner when he was drafted to Green Bay, like he did with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, like he did
Trevor
with Justin
Lawrence.
Herbert
And Trevor Lawrence.
and Trevor Lawrence as well with Jacksonville. So that's
a lot of
already
Super Bowls
that's 3
going around.
quarterbacks, 4 Super Bowls for Pete Prisco
Correct.
with 3 separate teams that have not sniffed one. Okay.
Well, they'll be sniffing them now. You get a quarterback.
All
you
I'm
sniff 'em.
saying is for Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers is if you look at this team, they've got a all-pro wide receiver in Devontae Adams. They've got a left tackle. They've got an offensive line that's not too bad. Their defense isn't too bad. They've got a rushing attack. You tell me, Danny, is this team that far outside of the quarterback position? To me, it's not a rebuild. Now, yeah, you're going to go through some lumps and pains of Jordan Love, figuring out how to be a quarterback in the NFL. But the rest of the pieces out around them, this is a good football team. So I'm not saying they're going to be necessarily a contender. Like, don't take what Pete says. I mean, he's talking about diversion and everything else right now. Let's talk about football for a second, okay?
Right.
This Green Bay Packers team is still a good football team. It's not as good without Aaron Rodgers, but they still think they can probably compete with Jordan Love. Otherwise, why draft him? Why draft him in the first place?
And let's see what they do with the first round pick that they get.
That's right.
Let's see. Maybe there's another piece to this puzzle too.
Right.
Like 3-1s may not be enough. Maybe there's a player involved. There's a lot of speculating right now that's going on. I ultimately and I think you feel this way too, like I'll believe it when I see it.
Right,
Like I think it's
100%.
fun, and a lot of these rumors are flying around, and it's reported on a radio show. Like that gives me a little because things are said on the radio a little bit. I'm not believing it until I see it. But let's see what happens. If it does, then I think you're right. There will be a return on the investment, and I would not pick the Packers to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
But I wouldn't pick them to be 2-15 now.
You wouldn't do what Pete would do and then make some outlandish statement about guys winning Super Bowl on draft day like he did a year ago, right?
Wouldn't you think they go from the third best favorite to win the Super Bowl to somewhere near the other end of the spectrum?
Correct. And
Middle of the pack at
But
best.
it's funny because Brady just propped up the entire roster, but it's not good enough for Aaron Rodgers. They had free agents. Kenny Clark re-signed him. Aaron Jones gave him a new deal. I mean, they're doing things to appease
Which
him.
they never do.
Correct.
They usually let guys just
What
go.
about the wide receiver, Pete? What about the wide receiver position?
Well, I hope
have they drafted a wide receiver yet in the past year? Last time I checked, have they drafted a wide receiver?
They haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first round since 2002.
How about any round last year, Pete? Did they draft one in any round last year?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. So maybe he's a little bit frustrated with the fact that the one thing they needed outside of Devontae Adams was a wide receiver, and they had one that opted out in Devin Funchess. I'm still not sure he gets it done. And outside of that, they have not provided him with what he needs. So I'm sorry to break this to you. Denver's probably got a better roster on paper, and so it might look more attractive to him. He might be enticed by the fact that John Elway's there whispering in his ear, look what Peyton Manning did. He had a single-season record in one of his years. He won a Super Bowl on the way out of the other one. If that's what you want, come to the Rockies. We can make it happen. Maybe they're trying to preach that to him, Pete. It's not the craziest thing in the world to actually think about.
No, I mean, if I'm the Broncos, I'm doing everything I can to try and get him. But I'm not saying that. But if I'm the Packers, I'm not trading him. He's not going anywhere. And if Jordan Love's their quarterback,
So
they're
next
one
year,
of the worst
so
teams
Pete,
in the
next year,
division.
what do they do? What do they do next year?
Play him. He plays, wins an MVP again, then you decide you're going to pay him.
Okay, so then what do they do the year after that?
that
then?
easy?
At some point,
What do you do?
At
At
some
some
point,
point, he's
what
not
do you
gonna-
do with Rodgers and Jordan Love? You made the decision to trade up to take Jordan Love, Pete.
If
You're
Rodgers
the
is
general
playing at a
manager.
high level,
At
Brady,
what
you continue
point-
to play with him.
At what point
When he
do
can't
you
play at
move
a high
on?
level anymore.
So it could be 5 years from now?
Could be.
How many years did they play
He
with
says he
Favre
wants to play.
after
Rodgers
they
told
drafted
me.
Rodgers?
Rodgers told me he wants to play till he's 40.
How many years did they play with Favre after they drafted Rodgers? 3?
Yeah.
3 years.
So, three more
So
years.
this would be the second year. So it could be a couple more years with Aaron Rodgers.
And if he's playing it like he did last year, why would you even think about getting rid of him?
Well, if our Connecticut hosts had it their way, the Chargers would send Justin Herbert
I wouldn't
to,
do that.
to Green Bay in exchange for Aaron Rodgers. Hat tip to Joe Musso and Hakeem Dermish. That would be one hell of a trade.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.